What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Dual Sense podcast. This is episode 15. I'm one of your co hosts, Jason. I'm joined, as always, by Travis. Travis, what's good today?
Nothing much, just working on your prize TV stand.
What are you doing that for?
I guess so you'll be happy, Daddy.
You and I have worked out a little bit of a trade here, Travis, so you can be prepared for the next generation, and I as well. So I'm trading you my Sony 4K HDR TV for a new TV stand, which you're hand making for me, which is pretty
Right.
sweet.
I suppose.
It's pretty sweet, and it's pretty sweet of you.
Okay.
And you have never gamed in 4K and HDR, is that correct?
I've gamed on it at your house
Hmm.
locally.
Hmm. Well, we're gonna get you up to speed here, just in time for the PS5.
I'm I really don't think I'm going to notice a difference.
Okay. Okay. We'll see about that. Well, Travis, for the uninitiated or the noobs, this is a PlayStation podcast where you and I get together every week to discuss all things PlayStation, like the news, rumors, upcoming game releases, and a little bit more. And we try to do it all in under 90 minutes. You can find us on all of the usual podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and others. We post every Sunday. If you'd like to engage with us, you can do that on Twitter at the DualSense Pod. We also stream occasionally, although we haven't been doing too great the past couple of weeks. If you'd like to watch us stream, you can find us at twitch.tv/ the DualSense Podcast. And without further ado, Travis, talk to me about what you've been playing this past week.
Played Fall Guys on Sunday night with the wife. She now has as many crowns as I do. One. So,
You have one apiece.
yeah, she won on the one where the little bars spin around and the floor falls out. So,
Oh, yeah.
her and I think there was probably 6 people left. So, like, there's 7 people on the last one. And the way it was falling, there was like 4 on the other side, and they all ended up on that one little pad, and it fell. So everybody's jumping and trying to, not to be the first one to hit the pink slime or whatever, and she barely made it. I mean, it couldn't have been by like a half a second.
So she was like just basically floating in the air, hanging on,
Right. It, it,
hoping.
it popped up and just said qualified, and she's like upside down, like an inch from the slime or whatever.
That's good.
Let's see. Played a lot of the alpha, the Call of Duty alpha. So,
Talk to me about what you thought about that.
well, at one point I told you I hated it, and then about 30 seconds later I told you I loved it. So that's how it went.
Yeah.
My issue was that a couple of those nights we got stuck on some game modes that I'm not good at, so it made me hate it. But when we were in the other modes, I didn't mind it. It was a lot of fun. I had more fun on this one than last year's alpha for Modern Warfare.
Okay.
The guns are different. I know the sniping was a little overpowering, but I think they said they were going to change that.
Hmm.
It's different. I like the delayed kill time. It's not as dramatic as it feels at first. Like the first few
Right.
boards we played, I was like, man, takes forever. And then the next night we played Modern Warfare, and it's like, it's not that different. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
couple bullets maybe,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it felt more. It just felt more in line with the type of shooter I should be good at. We weren't wall hopping and flying through the air and stuff I can't do. So I
Would
enjoyed
you
it.
would you agree that it is in terms of gameplay and really graphically too in a way? Would you agree that it's quite different than Modern Warfare, the way
Yeah,
it feels?
yeah, certainly. It looks more polished, I guess would be the word. The guns all feel different, but they feel good. The only I will say that without the lack of mounting does make me it feels like when I go back to Modern Warfare now, the mounting is more of a cop out
Hmm.
because you can like hide and you could basically set up a mount in a spot to where you can only kill them with one type of shot, and on this one like there's really no place for you to kind of hide in the back, so it's a little bit more difficult. I do like that about it.
Okay, so you're glad that the mounting is gone.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
the door's not opening and closing is a little silly, but you know,
Yeah.
I guess that kind of is an old school way of doing it though. So on one hand, I
Yeah.
get it, but it's kind of weird. It kind of again, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you can't hear people kind of busting through doors and whatnot.
Right. Have you played anything else this week?
I think I'm like almost level 40 with the Hulk now.
Nice.
I can now smash two people together. I figured out last night I could throw people after I grab them, which should have been obvious, but it didn't register with me because I was just beating them into the ground and into other people. But last night I was throwing droids at the drones, and that was that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. We were whatever night we were playing last night or maybe the night before, I was watching you really like for the first time, like paying attention to your attacks, and you were doing some awesome shit. Like just pounding guys into the ground and like it was
He's
awesome.
pretty fun. There's one where you like grab them by their robot hair and you just hit him in the face. It reminds me of like when Ray Liotta pistol whips that dude in Goodfellas across the street. Like you basically do that to the guy, and it's some of the times it's kind of hilarious just the way the animations work out because you can get caught in these kind of weird places and you'll accidentally throw him into like one of those things that explodes and just sets
Oh
off a
yeah.
trigger of things. And yeah, I really enjoy the Hulk.
Did you race it all this week or no?
No, I didn't. I got I think I used that time to play the beta,
Mm,
and then I ended up watching the NBA a couple of nights. So it's not like I missed much. I mean, it's Gran Turismo's kind of dead right now. Still, I'm not going to do a race with the penalties like that. And F1 I do when I feel like it. It's nothing like I'm not in like a big rush or anything. I don't race it competitively. I just do the career mode. So
I gotcha. Well, I played Red Dead Online per usual, just normal stuff there. Played Modern Warfare with you as you mentioned a couple of times, I think. I also continued to play NBA 2K21,
hmm
just the my team because it'll carry over. It's still fine. It's good.
are you better?
I'm better. Yeah, it took me a little bit. I was having a hard time beating the computer in the 3v3 offline, and I can now pretty much do that every game, no problem.
Hmm.
It does still do some weird things occasionally where it'll match you up with 3 point guards or two centers
Right.
and things like that. And it's like pretty hard to do anything about that, but it's fun. And I'm just kind of doing that at my own pace to not get burnt out with it, but then kind of have a foundation for when I play on the PS5. So we'll see. And then also, like you mentioned, the last thing that I played was the Black Ops Alpha. So my take on it is that I enjoyed it also, which I already have it pre-ordered, so I'm going to get it anyway. But I'm glad that I ended up liking it. I I think you and I talked. We played Modern Warfare maybe Monday night or Sunday night because we were in the mood after playing the alpha, and I think I made a comment to you about like I wish that we were playing the alpha still instead of Modern Warfare,
Right.
and just because I kind of switched gears a little bit. The alpha was good for me. The gunplay is a lot different from Modern Warfare. It is kind of what I thought it was going to be as far as the guns don't feel as weighty
Right.
as Modern Warfare. There's not as much recoil, things like that. However, I only used the pre-made classes that were all kitted out.
hmm
So can't definitively say that because they had, the classes had grips and stocks and everything else on it. So it probably changed the way the stock guns feel from the get go. So, but
Yeah.
it was fun. I can't wait to play it. The maps were cool,
Right.
and the just the guns that they showed us were cool. There's some different stuff in there with it, obviously being from a different time period. So,
The something about the maps reminded me a little bit of Battlefield 4. I'm not sure if it was like the color palette or the staging or the
hmm
textures. Something about it reminded me of I don't know, like the darkness of it or the I don't know how to even really explain that. It was weird. That Miami map reminded me of a couple of the maps it rains on
hmm
Battlefield, and then a couple of them are just so open. Like that desert map reminded me of Battlefield 1.
yeah,
Maybe it
yeah,
was just because of
definitely.
the beta. I know it also has a lot of similarities to the map. I forget what it's called. Remember the Modern Warfare map like a long time ago where you had the big tube airplane in the middle and you had like the big lane in the
Oh,
middle and you could run around the edges.
yeah, I forget, but
It's kind of like they
yes,
smashed both of those together. Um, but anyway, I found it much easier to shoot people in the head than I do on this year's game for whatever reason.
yeah. No, it felt good. I enjoyed it. It looks like, from what we could tell, if the health bars over the head are across all game modes because I believe those were in team
Right.
deathmatch,
Yeah, I
right?
like that a lot.
Yeah.
More than I thought it would.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll get the beta here in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from this
Mhm.
weekend, I
Mhm.
think, the 8th, something like that. Yeah. So we'll play that and see. I think they're going to give us some more maps and more weapons this time around. Open it up a little bit
This
more.
should be
So we'll
cool.
see. We'll get a better feel for it. So with that, let's get into the news here, Travis. Number one, in a video game industry bombshell this week, Microsoft entered into an acquisition agreement with ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda Softworks. Bloomberg first reported the news, noting that the deal will go down as, quote, the biggest video game purchase ever, end quote, with Microsoft acquiring the company for $7.5 billion. As part of the deal, Microsoft is set to acquire developers Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane Studios, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roundhouse Studios. This includes acquiring the rights to IP such as Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Starfield, and Wolfenstein. While the big question for PlayStation gamers is whether or not future Bethesda titles will still make their way to PlayStation consoles, when asked directly if Bethesda games will continue to release on other consoles, Xbox chief Phil Spencer stated that Xbox plans to honor the PS5 exclusivity commitments for both Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, while other Bethesda games will be on Xbox, PC, and, quote, other consoles on a case by case basis, end quote. The acquisition deal is expected to close sometime between January and June of 2021. Elsewhere, in a mildly dramatic twist, former Game Informer writer Imran Khan revealed on Twitter that Sony had been negotiating timed exclusivity for the upcoming space RPG Starfield from Bethesda as recently as 3 months ago. So, Travis, there's a lot to take in here. What are your flyover thoughts of this deal here?
First thought is wow, and then my next thought was Tom Howard found another way to sell Skyrim.
Yeah, Todd's going to have it on everything before too long.
So that's fine. Good for him. When I initially heard this, my thought was, okay, so we're gonna lose Fallout, and people are gonna lose Elder Scrolls, and they're gonna lose their minds. And
Hmm.
then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, worst case scenario, it'll be timed because I think Microsoft is more concerned about bottom line dollars than they are creating a console that has sole exclusivity for these things. And now I'm kind of at the position where I'm not sure if we'll have that at all. They might just be cross gen like normal,
Hmm.
even though they own it.
Hmm.
But I feel like they bought this to bolster whatever they're going to do with cloud gaming in the future. That would be my guess.
Yeah, it's very rare. I feel like that publishers get bought.
Right.
This is a big purchase because they bought not just a development studio. It's not like they went out and bought Arcane Studios, the people who are making
Hmm.
Deathloop, and they're like, okay, cool. No, they went out and bought the entire publisher. Now, granted, Bethesda is not Ubisoft or EA or Take Two or anybody like that, but still, you can see the studios and some of the titles that are in their stable, and that's what makes this such a huge acquisition. Now, to your point, as far as what they're going to do with this stuff, it's weird a little bit to me, I guess, as a PlayStation gamer, because we come from a different ecosystem, but it's weird to me that Phil Spencer and Xbox didn't just flat out come out and say, "Hey, these games are going to be playable on Xbox and PC only in the future."
Hmm.
Like that's it. Like
Right.
you can just play them on Xbox. They've said case by case basis.
And I don't feel like Microsoft, I feel like they view, like you said, it's a different ecosystem. I feel like they view the console rivalry differently than PlayStation or even PlayStation fans do.
I think that's fair. Yeah, totally fair. I think that like we've talked before, Xbox is worried about literally their ecosystem now revolves around Game Pass and in
Hmm.
the future cloud gaming like you're talking about. And Sony's ecosystem revolves around first party exclusive blockbuster games, right?
Right.
So it's just a difference in philosophy. And I gotta say, I'm going to be upset if I cannot play the Elder Scrolls or Fallout or Starfield on PlayStation.
Mhm.
And so that's really kind of the
Mhm.
worrisome part for me is those are the titles. I don't care about the other ones. Now there's obviously people who care just about Doom and whatever and none of the other ones whatever, but that's where for PlayStation gamers I think the heartache is going to be if they decide to keep those games off of PlayStation systems is
Right.
having to miss out on those big games that they
Yeah.
do have. But this is why they did it. If so, if they decide to keep
Yeah.
them exclusive, I mean that's that's why you pay
Their
seven and a
business.
half billion dollars. Yeah.
And it's and this is a probably a stretch of a theory to pay $7 billion, but, you know, a lot like Sony's been buying up these different studios and whatnot, and was obviously they were in negotiation, to have Starfield as an exclusive 3 months
Hmm.
ago. So, maybe they had saw the writing on the wall and thought, "Look, people love these games, Fallout, they love Elder Scrolls and Doom, and Wolfenstein is kinda has a cult following, so it's kinda like, well, what if Sony does this deal, right? Then we're losing revenue, so why not buy it? That guarantees that we're not backed into a corner. We can use it as we see fit. If we decide to do timed exclusives, fine. If we not, cool. We know that we can use basically this could be their flagship as they roll out their cloud-based service. If they do
Hmm.
this big push instead of having the next console, if they do a cloud thing next with the Game Pass, this could be their flagship studio, and they could roll out whatever the next Fallout is, whatever the next Elder Scrolls is. If it's Elder Scrolls, whatever, what's the next one? 7.
6.
Right. So maybe 6 comes out now, but then by the time we get to the new console, it'll be time for 7. And they might come out and say, hey, you can play it on this cloud based exclusive for 6 months. And maybe, you know, feel like they're setting themselves up for more of a longer play than maybe we're seeing.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And so my gut feeling on this is at least today, as we sit here today, just knowing what we know and hearing what we've heard. I think that Xbox is going to say, hey, all of these games, all of these new games too, Starfield, whatever, you're going to be able to play them day one on Game Pass with your Game Pass subscription. They're wanting to increase that value there. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they said, hey, we're still going to release these games on PlayStation, but you're just going to have to pay $70 for them. So
Yeah.
that's your option. Like PlayStation gamers, if you're cool with paying $70 for every Bethesda game that comes out from now on, then cool. Or if you just want to pay $60 a year and have all of them, whenever they come out, then you do that on Xbox or PC with Game Pass, whatever.
Right.
So maybe that's the play. They've got a lot of options here, and it's weird that they've kind of left the door open with that case by case thing. So, and who knows? Maybe to your point, maybe they'll cherry pick. Maybe they'll say, hey, the Elder Scrolls is going to be on the cloud and Game Pass for 6 months, and then it'll come to PlayStation. But Fallout is just going to be on Xbox. It's never going to come to PlayStation. It's just
Hmm.
hard to say right now. So I think it's really also just the kind of the last point here. It's it's a little bit heartbreaking that Sony apparently just missed out on getting that timed exclusivity for Starfield. That would have been huge, and that kind of lines up with the rumors that we've been hearing in the past few weeks about Sony spending a lot of money trying to get exclusive relationships with third parties, whether it's timed exclusive or totally exclusive games on PlayStation and so on. So that's probably going to end up being a big miss for Sony, specifically for that game in the future. Number two, we learned some new details this week regarding the remastered version of 2018's Marvel's Spider Man. According to website DualShockers, the remastered version of the original game will only be available as a part of the Ultimate Edition of Spider Man Miles Morales for PlayStation 5, which was later confirmed by Sony. To be clear, current owners of the original game on PS4 will not get a free upgrade to the remaster. However, Insomniac has not rolled out a standalone release for the remaster, although it would be as a digital only release if so. Insomniac Games has also confirmed that any original save files from the PS4 version will not be supported or transferred to the remastered version, and that the game has its own trophy list from the original. And finally, Insomniac shared that the remaster is more than just an upscaling of the game's resolution, as it includes several technical upgrades, including an updated character model for Peter Parker. What are your thoughts here?
I don't understand why people think they should just be given an upgrade, like if you own the original PS4 disc.
It's a pretty big outrage, right?
I guess. I mean, it's different for games like you buy Cyberpunk or whatever, and it's right around the time of the launch, so that makes sense. If you're buying just a remaster that like you've had that game for a year, like why would they give you the remaster? Like you already know you can play it on the 5, what you have right now.
Mm
It just reminds me of this is a theory I have. So conspiracy Travis has his tinfoil hat on.
hmm. Uh oh.
When kids are little, what do we teach them? They have a guy in a red coat who brings them free stuff, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny brings them free shit. They don't have to work for it. All they gotta do is be nice. And they're
Mm.
just like owed it. And then they become adults and they think that they should just get free copies of video games or universal basic income. And I think it's like a weird indoctrination of self righteousness that starts as a very little thing, a little lie. And then they just think it's whatever, what they're owed. I don't know. It just drives me crazy. I think it's like a bigger issue than just video games.
Like you said, it's a remaster of a 2 year old game now. And it's not comparable to these other situations of games that have come out recently, like this year or that are about to come out.
Hmm.
For instance, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if you buy that for the PlayStation 4, or that's a launch day game. That's not a good example. Watch Dogs Legion, if you
Hmm.
buy that when it comes out on October 29th to play on PlayStation 4, and then they're going to turn around 2 weeks later and give you the free upgrade to PS5, that's reasonable. I mean, that game comes out within 2 weeks of the console. This game has been out for 2 years.
Right.
And so I'm not necessarily on the wagon of, hey, we had this game, we should get it for free, especially because they're not just cranking it up from like 1080p to 4K.
There's a
Like
lot that they've changed.
they've actively worked on it. They've updated the character models. They're adding ray tracing, I think. They're
Hmm.
doing some other stuff to it. It's not like they're just turning some sliders up. So
Right. It
I
remind
get that.
to me, it's as silly as like, well, I had Mafia 2 on PS2 and 3, and 10
Yeah.
years ago, you should give me the free upgrade since you remastered it. Like, no, it's not the same thing. Like, it's
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Exactly. I do though, however, I do have a little take a little bit of exception with the fact that your PS4 save file won't work on the remastered game. Not quite sure about that one, why that is. My guess is because not my guess. I think the answer is that because it's its own separate trophy list, you can't load in a save file where you've completed trophies, for instance. They're probably the same trophies just moved over to that version of the game. So you can't there's probably something on the back end that they can't work out with the save file by doing
Hmm.
that. Just like what you're saying, if you played Mafia, or if you played The Last of Us on PS3 and then played The Last of Us remastered on PS4, separate trophy list. So I think that's just something on the back end that can't be
Yeah.
helped
I guess it's
is what it
technically
is.
a different game.
Yeah, exactly. So look, if you want to play it, just just get the ultimate edition. It's $20. So maybe one day if you want to wait, they'll come out with it standalone for $20, but who knows. Number 3, following the disastrous rollout of PS5 pre-orders last week, Sony took to Twitter last weekend to issue an apology and offer some reassurance to fans still looking to get their hands on a PS5 pre-order. The official PlayStation account tweeted, quote, "Let's be honest. PS5 pre-orders could have been a lot smoother. We truly apologize for that. Over the next few days, we will release more PS5 consoles for pre-order. Retailers will share more details, and more PS5s will be available through the end of the year." End quote. So, what do you think about this? Sony kind of apologizing to the fan base a little bit.
It's nice of them to recognize the issue, to address it. I also thought it was nice of them not to, blame anybody or throw shade. Like, when Sony had all their issues, Microsoft was like, oh, well, we'll show you how whatever a pre-order goes, and theirs went fucking great, didn't it? So
Uh huh.
my thing is just like, hey, they acknowledge it. And that's fine. I don't really know what else they could have done. If they would have ignored it, not said anything, that would have been kind of annoying.
There was a problem somewhere along the way, as we've discussed. I mean, whether intentional or not, it didn't go as planned. There was either a blunder, there was a blunder somewhere along the way for things to go down the way that it did. And it's cool that they, acknowledged it, like you said, and apologized. And you always want, organizations that you support or buy things from to stand behind their product, so to speak. So it's good to see that. And like you said, it's at least they apologized a little bit, whereas Xbox had some similar issues, and all they did was put out how they were sold out and they were so overwhelmed by the interest in the consoles and this and that. So just a totally different approach in that regard after they had taken a little jab at Sony, like you said. Number four, along those same lines, it was also discovered this week that the ratio of standard to digital edition PlayStation 5s is severely lopsided. Website Ars Technica reported that they confirmed pre order allocations for 9 separate GameStop locations in the US, stating, quote, all told, roughly 24% of the stock available at these locations was taken up by the digital edition, with the remaining 76% for the standard edition. Is that how math works? End quote. Additionally, Ars Technica reported that Best Buy Canada's website showed 19,000 standard edition and 3,000 digital edition pre orders available on Wednesday.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about this after in the past, we've talked about how digital gaming is kind of making a surge here and people are buying predominantly digitally, like over 50%. We just crossed that threshold recently in terms of games sold in a month and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, how do you reconcile that with the fact that, 3/4 of the consoles sold to this point have been the physical or the disc version?
I assume that the disc version would there be more of those available than digital, just because digital's newer, and although the sales indicate that we're heading that way, this might be kind of your bridge generation.
Sure.
I was surprised it's that high. I was thinking like 60/40.
Right.
75
Yeah.
25 is that's a pretty big gap, but
Yeah.
I mean, these are the numbers for Best Buy GameStop. Obviously, the Best Buy numbers are a little bit more than
Hmm.
3/4. It's more like 4/5 for them.
Hmm.
But it makes sense because those are retailers that want to move discs because they make more money that way. So
Yeah.
that's why I think it's happening
Hmm.
that way. I'm curious, like on the Sony site, if you just bought it directly from Sony, I wonder what they have in the Sony warehouse more of. I wonder if it's more even on their end.
Hmm.
I would be curious about that. But no, I'm not totally surprised by this at all. I'm just surprised that the gap is as big as it is.
I was going to have a tinfoil moment like you as well with the retailers all selling more standard editions because, of course, they want to sell physical games, like you said. So I wondered that as well. And then part of me also wonders too if Sony wanted to produce more standard editions on the front end, like the first year, maybe 2 years. And this is more tinfoil, but obviously they're going to cover, I would think, more of their cost by selling the 499 version because I think
Mm,
we heard earlier in the year that the cost to manufacture a standard PS4 was around $450.
that makes sense.
And so maybe, and I don't know what the difference is on the digital edition. I'm going to guess it's, around 400 maybe. So they may be breaking even on the digital, but making $50 or $40 on the standard edition. So maybe they just produce more of those
Hmm.
to try and, drive up that kind of profit margin there on that because they just have that margin there that they can work, that they can make more money off of. So
Right.
that's a conspiracy, but I'm curious about that. I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if we'll hear about that in the coming
Hmm.
months.
And we've seen this. This is based off of past PlayStation history. They've done it with every console. They'll re-release the console in some new form in 3 or 4 years, and the PS5 Pro Elite 2 or whatever the hell they'll call it, and it probably will be discless. And
Dickless or discless?
I keep calling it the dickless PlayStation, but my theory is at that point we won't see a disc drive in any of the quote unquote, you know,
Hmm.
PlayStation 5 Pro and at that point, hopefully, they're at better than 50% fail rate on their on
Interesting.
you know what I mean? Like, by then, it should be, a cheaper process. They should have it refined.
Interesting. I guess we'll have to see how it shakes out. Number five, developers seem to be thoroughly enjoying making games on the PS5 hardware, according to website Push Square, who reported on comments made by Digital Foundry's Richard Ledbetter during an EGX panel. Ledbetter stated during the panel that, quote, every single developer I've spoken to developing for PS5 has been evangelizing how easy it is to work for. It's essentially the same development environment as PS4, and you scale up from there for the new powers, the features, and whatnot. I can't stress enough how happy developers seem to be with this situation. End quote. What do you think about this?
It's first of all, who uses evangelize in a sentence? It's interesting to hear all these guys saying similar stuff about the hardware, how much they like it.
Hmm.
It does make me cautiously optimistic, though. I don't wanna jump too far ahead because I guess I just don't wanna be disappointed. Who knows what the console can even do game-wise, like, what it's even
Yeah,
capable of, so and they don't know that yet either. They know more than we do, but
right.
it does make me optimistic we'll see some really, really cool things that we haven't seen before. You know, the people weren't talking about the touchpad like this last time, so for example.
True.
So,
True.
it makes me optimistic, but at the same time, it's like, I need to see something to kinda
Hmm.
understand the hype.
Yeah, it's always exciting when you hear developers or people who talk with developers say these sorts of things. Like, you don't want to hear at this stage in the game, like, oh, they really hate working on this thing, or it's difficult to get this game running on this. Of course, we heard those rumors about Resident Evil, but I think that's a Capcom problem. But 99% of everybody else has said it's easy to work on. It's great to work on. It's got a lot of power, so on and so forth. So those are the types of things that you want to hear, and those are the types of things that should get you excited as a gamer to see when we get a little bit further in the generation what these developers making these comments can do with this thing. So it's like, you probably want to fly on a plane that a pilot says, "Oh, this thing is easy to fly."
Right,
You
yeah.
don't want to get on a plane where a pilot says, "This thing looks like this looks complicated. I don't know if I can fly this thing."
Well,
Like,
all
you
these levers.
probably yeah, you probably don't want to get on that plane, Chief. So we'll see, but that's good news. Number six, it appears that the often praised PS5 solid state hard drive may be even more capable than once expected. Website WCCF Tech reported that the PS5 input output, or I/O system, will be, quote, supercharged, end quote, by data compression technology from RAD Game Tools. RAD Game Tools. That's awesome. Sony has licensed both their Oodle Kraken and Oodle Textures technology for use in all PS4 and PS5 games moving forward, according to the report. WCCF Tech stated that, quote, when factoring in both Oodle Kraken and Oodle Texture, the developers of the technology have seen an impressive compression ratio of 3.16 to 1 for a texture set in a recent game. This would translate into an I/O bandwidth peak of 17.38 gigabytes a second.
Uh-huh.
End quote. Right. End quote. So, Travis, what all of this means, from what I can gather, is that for us common folk, in theory, is that games may load even faster, if that's even possible, and can feature extremely high quality textures with more graphical detail and less texture pop in. So, what are your thoughts on any of this here?
I mean, it sounds cool, I guess. I mean, I understand supercharger in from, like, a car theory, what it does to engines. So
Yeah,
I'm applying that to this.
that sounds about right,
So,
honestly.
I
Yeah.
don't really understand what they mean, but I know if you can compress stuff, you can get more data in, or you can work faster, and, like, compression is what created MP3s, and kinda
Yeah,
like, the iTunes revolution, so that makes sense, and all of the compression stuff I know is from Silicon Valley, the show.
that's funny.
That's really all I got.
Yeah, so I read this. I read a couple of articles about this, and my head was spinning a little bit. They're talking about all these different like texture, these graphical texture files, and this and that. And I was like, okay, cool, guys, sounds good. What does this mean? So I was trying to read. I was trying to find kind of plain terms articles about it, and basically, from what I can gather, it means what I talked about. Like there's a possibility for games to load even faster, and not load times per se, like between screens or whatever, but as far as like we talked about streaming the data from the hard drive to your television. So where like if you're playing, Red Dead Redemption, they're able to stream in more detail faster so they can get more graphical detail in there because they can just get that streamed in quicker because the hard drive is so fast. So that's the way that I took it. So the bottom line is it sounds like as developers, like we mentioned, this might be why developers are so excited about this is as we get further in the generation, it sounds like they're going to be able to just add and
Right.
create
You just pack it
more and
in.
more. Yeah, you're just going to pack in the detail and things like that, even more so than what we're seeing right now. So that's the way I took it, and if I'm correct in that, then that excites me greatly. Number seven, rumors popped up this week that legendary action stealth game Metal Gear Solid may make a next gen return. Website DualShockers, among many others, reported the rumors of a full on Metal Gear Solid remake coming exclusively to the PlayStation 5. This, according to YouTuber Red Gaming Tech, who has had some accurate leaks in the past, apparently. Red Gaming Tech claims that the Metal Gear Solid remake information has been confirmed by two individual sources, and they also stated that Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4 are being worked on as well, albeit not as full remakes, but rather HD remasters. So, what are your thoughts on Metal Gear Solid maybe making an appearance on the 5?
I had the first one on PlayStation 1, so I better get it for free.
You're damn right.
Gosh, look, this is going to be contradiction. I'm a little over remakes, even though I just bought one.
You did.
It's like, like Hollywood and all these movies are remakes or they're rehashes or whatever. It's like we're stuck in this weird thing. Like they could make another new Metal Gear. I don't see why they couldn't. But we're
Sure.
going to remaster the ones that they've already had success with because they know we're just going to buy it because we're like sheep sometimes.
Sure.
It's annoying on that front, but you know, like 2, 3, and 4 to me that are just remasters. It's kind of like I'm not interested in a remaster. But the remake of Metal Gear might be it's like it's just cool to see the difference in generations. So from that standpoint, it's very cool, and I like it. I don't know. I'm torn.
I think that, well, first of all, I'm super excited about this. If this turns out to be true, which time will tell. I would love this. I never finished the first one, but it's but it's an awesome game. I got to the cyborg ninja and couldn't figure out as a kid that he needed to use a chaff grenade infrared goggles among other things. But nevertheless, I never finished it. Would love to play it again. Metal Gear is one of my favorite series. If they did, I think to a little bit to your point, if you're going to do these things, you're going to do remakes. Don't just give us remasters. Those are okay, but give us the full blown remakes like Mafia Definitive Edition, which it sounds like you've bought, like Demon Souls. Give us the full blown workup, which sounds like what they're doing.
Right. It would be nice if too they'd add in maybe some new missions or kind of because on those old games you couldn't really explore the worlds in the way you can now. It'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool if you could. That's the one criticism I've seen about Mafia is they didn't add kind of different missions to kind of let you explore the world in a deeper way.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you have the technology to do it. Why not experiment a little bit? So I'm excited about it. I hope that this rumor is true. It would be awesome. I can't even imagine what this game would look like on the PS5 after seeing what they did with Demon Souls, which was
Right.
just coming from the 3 to the 5. So
Yeah, and that's crazy. Like when you look at it now, and you're like, "That was on the fucking PS3." It looks like a PS1 game in
I,
my head. Like
I
I think
know,
Driver had better graphics.
I know. Number 8, Travis. We have several news nuggets here to get through. As always, feel free to jump in if you'd like. The first nugget here, website Polygon reports that the prestigious Tribeca Film Festival will expand its video game programming in 2021 and will now select games for the newly minted Tribeca Games Award. Website Push Square reported that Demon Souls on PS5 will require 66 gigabytes of hard drive space, while Spider Man Miles Morales will take 50 gigabytes. If you plan on getting the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales, it will cost you 105 gigabytes, as it includes the remaster of the original game.
We saw some complaining about this on the interwebs about the size of these games, and we talked a little bit about this offline, but what makes people think these games are gonna be smaller? If anything, they're gonna be bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I think the compression, they'll be able to compress more into less gigs, and that might be true on
Yeah.
some levels, and hell, maybe they are, and it's still 60 gigs. I mean, look, why would they not be just as big, if not bigger? I don't get it.
But to me, best case scenario, they stay about the same size as they are now. So the way I look at it is when you start having more graphically advanced games with bigger file sizes, then naturally, like you're saying, those game file sizes should grow.
Right,
But hopefully, I think best case scenario with the SSD technology and compression and whatever, they'll be able to just basically kind of hold the line and
right.
keep them about the same as we've seen on the PS4.
I mean, if you think about it, when you take a screenshot on your phone, it's like 1.9 megabytes, something like that, 2 megabytes, I mean, and
Yeah.
that's a screenshot. Like, nothing's moving, it's not loading textures. Like, of course, they're huge. They should be huge.
Yeah.
These games have more data in them than we use to get to the moon.
That's that's a great point. Look at the Demon Souls trailer for PS5. What do you
Yeah.
I mean, there's easily 66 gigabytes there. It's okay. But I understand we're gonna have like around 700 gigs on the PS5. There people are worried about it filling up, but I
How
think it's
many
just
games do people play? I play like 3 games at a time, if that. 3 or
right.
4. 4 tops, and the 4th one's, like, random.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to get used to deleting stuff that we're not playing. Like I do keep some smaller digital games like Next Machina and stuff on mine.
Right.
It's like 2 gigs. It's not a 50 gigabyte game. So you're probably just gonna have to get used to cycling games out. And until they can give us some expandable storage. So we'll see. Next nugget here, Travis. Developer Naughty Dog announced that September 26th, this Saturday or this past Saturday, yesterday is when by the time this podcast comes out, has been rebranded from Outbreak Day to The Last of Us Day within their marketing strategy and teased that they have, quote, a lot of exciting things planned,
What does this
end
mean?
quote. So within the lore of The Last of Us, the outbreak within the game began on September the 26th. I don't remember the year, but September 26th in the game world. So
Right. Okay.
they ran with that, and it's Outbreak Day, and usually for years since, that's usually the day that the game goes on sale, and then they put out videos about it and all
The
the
cool
themes.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
The
just a
theme's free
day.
right now.
Yeah, all the themes are free right now and stuff like that.
Well,
So
look, if this is what they're calling exciting things, then just let me know when something real happens.
I thought the same thing. I was like, all this shit that they did today is boring. Like it's cool. It's cool that the themes are free. That's cool. But I've seen some theories that they're going to announce the multiplayer for
Ooh.
part
Okay.
two tomorrow,
Okay, okay.
possibly. Yeah, they might announce how the game is going to transition to the PS5, maybe, with some type of update, and then you can buy the multiplayer, whatever. Like there's speculation like that out there, so we'll see. Also, No Man's Sky developer Hello Games released the next update for the game, titled Origins, earlier this week. The update includes new planets and star systems, a new user interface, new alien fauna, more diversity on every planet, and much more. Developer CD Projekt Red revealed after the latest episode of Night City Wire that Cyberpunk 2077's main story will take slightly less time to complete than The Witcher 3. The Game Awards announced that this year's show will take place live on December 10th from Los Angeles, London, and Tokyo. Crystal Dynamics released the biggest update yet for Marvel's Avengers with over 1,000 fixes and tweaks. The patch also issued players in game resources as an apology for the recent issues.
Is this why I had such a hard time last night?
Maybe, yeah, they've tweaked some stuff. They've added some new attacks to enemies and things like that. So
Yeah, all I could do was dodge straight into people exploding, and then those red fire guys that like Johnny Cash created in hell. I couldn't beat those either.
so part of that's my fault because I turned the challenge up to challenge level 3, so we were 5 levels higher than what is appropriate for you. And I normally we don't have any issue with that, but we tried the hive for the first time last night, and I don't think we were ready for challenge level 3 on the hive.
I would like come out of the building and the laser would shoot me and I would die. I'm like, I didn't even get to do anything. I didn't even register to dodge because I didn't even know it was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll fix it tonight if we play. I promise. Also, Travis, website Push Square reported rumors of a Bloodborne remaster coming to PS5 and PC. This rumor came from leaker Red Gaming Tech, who also shared rumors of the Metal Gear Solid remake that we just mentioned. Push Square also reported that Football Manager 2021 will not launch on PS4 and PS5 because Sony did not provide developer Sports Interactive with dev kits for the consoles despite their
It's
requests.
one of my favorite news nuggets you've ever had.
The guy, the game director or whatever on Twitter was basically like, because he got asked about it, and they said, look, when you are developing a game, you request dev kits from the platform holder, and you have to get said dev kits to make the game for that platform. And we did not receive them. That was basically what he
I
said.
bet
It's
they're just like,
hilarious.
this game's never gonna sell. Fuck them.
Maybe. It's
It's
hilarious.
just a weird idea that you'd want to just. That's like the NFL head coach game. Like I never understood why you'd play that. Like
Right.
I'd
It's
just
huge over.
watch. Why I just want to watch people. I don't get it.
Right. It's huge. As you can imagine, it's huge in the UK and Europe in general, I think. Website PlayStation Universe reported that developer Arcane Studios is hiring for two unannounced AAA projects, one of which will feature some sort of online elements. That Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier stated on his recent podcast that Final Fantasy 16 has been in development for at least 4 years and is far along in development, indicating that a 2021 release may be possible.
I think we get. I think we get that before Gran Turismo.
You might be right.
I
I
think
hope
Gran
not.
Turismo has just disappeared. I think that they showed it on that first showcase, and then they went back to him and they're like, "Yeah, we're not close."
You think they just made like a vertical slice for that and just showed you that one race, like 7 minute clip?
Yeah, because like even the driving on it seemed like it was off the way they were moving the wheel to me. It just didn't make a lot of sense from the
Interesting.
gameplay that I have done now. It was weird.
Interesting. Okay. Website DualShockers reported that developer Team Kill Media announced that upcoming space horror shooter Quantum Break is no longer a PS5 exclusive and will be coming to the Xbox Series X as well.
Hey, there's a launch game.
There you go. DualShockers also reported that Red Dead Online may be getting a zombie update if recently discovered game files are to be believed. A Red Dead Online player found 29 male and 19 female zombie models complete with audio in the game files, all labeled Fear of Us. DualShockers also reported that Capcom is experimenting with bringing Resident Evil Village to the PS4 in addition to the PS5. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that a new Mass Effect Trilogy remastered listing has appeared on Czech retailer Herní Svet, this time with real box art. The listing has a mid October release date. They also reported that free to play magic wielding battle royale game Spellbreak has hit the 5 million players mark with 4 million hours streamed on Twitch. And that Near Replicant from publisher Square Enix will launch on PS4 in North America and Europe on April 23rd. Website Gematsu reported that a group of 15 former Lab Zero game staff have founded Future Club, an employee owned independent game studio. That publisher East Asia Soft announced Soldner X2 Final Prototype Definitive Edition, an enhanced version of the 2010 released side scrolling shooter for PS4 that will launch in November. That publisher Bandai Namco will release a physical edition of Katamari Damacy, I think, reroll for PS4 in North America, and it can be pre-ordered right now. That run and gun shooter Mighty Goose will launch on that will launch on PS4 sometime in 2021. That turn-based action game Orange Blood will come to PS4 on October 1st. That survival horror game Remothered Broken Porcelain has moved up a week and will now release on October 13th on PS4. That local cooperative kart racer Supermarket Shriek will come to PS4 on October 23rd.
Do you know what that is?
I saw some screenshots of it.
Okay.
It's a cool sounding game and name.
Yeah, so I thought, like karting and it's a shopping cart.
That's awesome. That's
It's amazing. I've watched some
is it still
gameplay.
like Mario Kart but with shopping carts?
It reminds me of Supermarket Sweep. So anyway, it's outrageous. This is not what I thought cart based meant at all.
That's a great idea for a game. Gematsu also reported that Death Come True has been delayed from its October 15th release date due to an issue flagged by Sony Interactive Entertainment quality assurance testers. That roguelike action game Metallic Child will launch on PS4 in spring 2021. That side-scrolling shoot 'em up sequel R-Type Final 2 will release on PS4 in spring 2021. That side-scrolling action game Clockwork Aquario will release on PS4 in early 2021, with a physical release coming from strictly limited games. That Fallen Legion Revenants will launch on PS4 on February 16th, 2021 in North America. That Shark game Maneater will be coming to PS5 at the console's launch and will feature ray tracing, native 4K with the 60 frames per second, and HDR. Current owners of the game on PS4 will be able to upgrade to the PS5 version for free.
I'm interested to see what this looks like. Have you watched anything about Maneater?
I've seen a little bit of
Oh
game
my
PS4 gameplay. Yeah, it's
it's so
outrageous.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's exactly what it says. You're a shark and you eat people. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. But it's like it's not like it's comical. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like the Goose Game. It's kind of silly. It's
right.
not terrifying in any way.
It's a funny Jaws. I hope they don't tell people that own Spider-Man that this is going to be a free upgrade. Gematsu also reported that adventure game Dungreed will release digitally on PS4 on October 27th in the West. That free to play title Bless Unleashed will come to PS4 on October 22nd. That dungeon RPG Undead Darlings No Cure for Love will launch on PS4 on September 28th. That grand strategy game Brigandine The Legend of Runersia will release on PS4 on December 10th. That visual novel game Necopara Volume 4 will release on PS4 in December. That Dragon Quest 6S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, Jesus guys, will come to PS4 on December 4th.
Microsoft named that.
Phew. That role playing rhythm adventure game, Starstruck Hands of Time, has added a PS4 version for release in 2021. That Neo 2's second major DLC, Darkness in the Capital, will launch on October 15th on PS4. People are excited about that. That XCOM style Transformers strategy game, Transformers Battlegrounds, will release on PS4 on October 23rd. Sounds interesting. That Spice and Wolf VR2 will also be coming to PSVR when it launches. That Fault Milestone 2 Side Below has
Wow.
been delayed to spring 2021. That a free Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory demo will release in mid October. And finally, Gematsu reports that Japanese YouTube content creators will go hands on with the PS5 starting on October the 4th as a part of YouTube Gaming Week Japan. And that is all for the news. Travis. Up next, it's time to get into this week's new game releases. Travis, take it away.
On PS4 this week, we got 13 Sentinels, Aegeus Rim. Then we got Active Neurons 2, which we read last week. Next, we have Bestiary Bundle, Blast Brawl 2, Budget Cuts, which is probably my favorite game on the list this week. You can play it in VR.
Okay. I thought
It's
I saw something about this.
right. It's worth looking up because it's a pretty cool concept. Basically, this company is told they have to cut some of the stuff out of the budget, and you're fired. And these robots are like trying to find you and kill you. And you have like this little portal gun, and your job is to like get away and get out, basically, or to survive.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's kind of funny the way that the game plays, but it's actually pretty interesting. You're being chased by like those little Pixar, the light from the Pixar
Uh
logo.
huh.
I don't
Yeah.
know, it just looks fun. Next we got Castle Storm 2, followed by Commanders 2 and Praetorians HD Remastered Double Pack, Commandos 2 HD Remaster, Crisis Remastered Launch Edition. On PS Plus, we have Dog Duty, followed by Donut Break, Experience Parasite. Is that what that means?
Yeah. I guess.
Okay.
EXP Parasite? Who knows?
Whatever. Going Under, Gorst. That's in all caps. Just
Hmm.
put caps lock on, smash your face into the keyboard, it'll pull it up. Next up is Jet Set Nights, which sounded cool. I looked it up. It looks fucking terrible. Next up is Kerbal Space Program Enhanced Complete Edition, which we told you about last week. Looks pretty cool if you're into management-based games. Next up is the only game on this list I've bought, Mafia Definitive Edition.
Heyo.
Next we have Off-Road Racing Buggy times ATV times Moto, $20. Just wait for Dirt 5. Next we have Praetorian's HD remaster, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Next up is
Mhm.
Tamaku, Tennis World Tour 2, The Catch, Carp and Course,
Great name.
The Secret Order, Return to the Buried Kingdom. We have Unrailed, that's about a virgin.
That's a train simulator.
It is a train simulator that looks like a lot of fun. So, you can play co-op. Did you know this?
I don't know.
So, like, basically, like, we have to find a way across whatever the board is, and we cannot make it because you screw up or I screw up.
Oh shit, that
So,
sounds kind of fun,
it
actually.
does sound fun, and it's like some of the video I watched on it, you can see how people can get heated playing, like, because it kinda starts to happen pretty quick.
This sounds like Overcooked.
A little bit, yeah, but with a train.
Yeah.
Next, we have Warhammer 40,000 Space Wolf bundle, followed by WWE 2K Battlegrounds. And this week on PS Vita, we have Xeno Crisis.
So a couple things here. First of all, I've heard that Xeno Crisis is fun on Vita. I've heard it's hard though. It's like a twin stick shooter game, but I've heard it's very difficult. So second thing is, I know that we repeat these sometimes, but the problem is that we don't get any kind of official list from Sony. So I literally pieced this together from PlayStation Lifestyle and then the guys over at Push Square across the pond. And so for whatever reason, PlayStation Lifestyle's list sometimes repeats itself. I don't know if it's because games get pushed a week or they just get confused or don't they just literally are copy and pasting from somewhere else and don't
Mhm.
pay attention. But so I'm only going to do as much work as those guys are going to do
Right.
until PlayStation gets their shit together. So anyway,
I just realized what push square means. So
yes,
that's where I am in the world.
you're welcome. Those lads are from across the pond. Finally, Travis, let's start to wrap things up here. Wanted to talk to you this week, given the news of the Bethesda acquisition by Microsoft. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt and conversation online this week following that news that Sony needed to make a counterpunch, basically, and do something about this. And people were left and right suggesting, buy X studio, buy Y studio, so on and so forth. So, my question that I wanted to pose to you is, in your opinion, do you think that Sony needs to do anything to counter this move by Xbox? Do you think they need to buy a developer? Do they need to try and go out and buy a whole publisher? Or do you think they should just stay the course?
In short, no. But if Microsoft came out and said everything from Bethesda is going to be exclusive to Microsoft now, then the answer would be yes. Because if they're willing to spend that much for games that are good but not great, in some cases they are great, but they're not always great. You know,
Yeah,
you don't want them to scoop up Rockstar or 2K, um,
right.
whatever else you can think of off the top of your head. So if that was the case, I would say yes, but the way it stands now, I would say no. I think that I do think these games are going to end up on PlayStation, even if it's a 6 month delay. I don't think that really kills what PlayStation wants to do. Like you said, Microsoft will probably say, "Hey, if you want to play this game on the cloud, it's ready to go. But if you want to play $70 for the PS5 version, go for it." And I think Sony's okay with that, and I think Microsoft's definitely okay with that because they're getting paid basically, twice. You're basically still paying them to play the game on another console. I think they're okay with that. So
Hmm.
my feeling is no. They're going to keep buying smaller stuff. We've seen them do that. I don't think that'll
Yeah.
change. I'm not sure that they have the type of money to buy like a Rockstar anyway. I'm
Yes.
not sure who does at this point. I mean, as much money as GTA has made and Red Dead, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know who the hell would buy them. I mean, Steve Ballmer. I mean, I guess he does. He is with Microsoft, but like even they didn't buy Bethesda with Xbox money. They bought it with their host Microsoft's money. It's a different
Right.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
Sony's not doing
It's
that.
the parent company. Right. It's
Right.
the parent company's money.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think they have to. I think they'll keep doing little things. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. I view this. I read a very interesting article. I think it was from Games Radar. I thought they had some good perspective about this, in that I think the way to view this for now is that Microsoft did this and spent $7.5 billion to play catch up with Sony
Yeah, that's
because
a good point. I
because
think it's
they
fair.
because they didn't yeah because they do not have the first party gravitas, the output, the caliber that Sony does right now with Naughty Dog, with Insomniac, with Sucker Punch. I mean, just pick one basically. You could say Sony has 4 or 5 of the biggest developers in the entire world. So, or best, I should say, not biggest.
Right.
So I think you can look at this as like, hey, this is Microsoft saying, look, we're not giving up. We're making a big power move. We have been trying to buy everybody. We tried to buy Warner Brothers and all of their IP recently, and they backed out. And then so we were also talking to Bethesda. We're doing this to catch up, to show that we're serious, and to bolster, Game Pass and the cloud and everything that they're working towards. So I kind of look at it that way as Microsoft's trying to keep the pace and gain a step a little bit. And I don't
Mhm.
think that Sony has to do anything right this minute, like you said. The other big thing is also, like you said, Sony as a corporation, and certainly not the PlayStation brand, doesn't have the type of cash to go out and spend $7.5 billion on anybody. And that's just not feasible. That's not realistic. I don't even know that. I think the fact that Sony did not engage on the Warner Brothers deal shows you as well that they don't have that kind of cash, because that was 4 billion or 4.5 billion. They don't have that kind of cash. They
Right.
paid for Insomniac, who makes Spider Man. They paid for that studio. That's not a publisher, mind you. That's a studio. They paid like 250 million, something like that, right? So they're doing stuff more along those lines. They paid 1 billion, to buy a stake in Epic Games, right? Recently, like a
Right.
1% stake in Epic that we talked about.
Mhm.
I think like 1 billion, maybe 2 billion at most is the best that Sony could do if they're going to purchase something.
And that might be more along the lines of what they do is buy a steak.
Yeah, yeah, they could definitely do that and then just say, "Hey, we're going to buy a whatever percent stake, and now for that 40% stake, all your stuff comes to us. Every game comes to us a year early, or whatever, or for a year at a time." So, I mean, maybe that something like that's possible. That's a good idea, but I just think they're going to kind of hold steady, like you said. I think there probably will be some acquisitions from the individual studio standpoint from Sony in the future before it's all said and done. I think there's certainly studios out there that they should buy, like Blue Point Games, for instance.
Mhm.
So, just being hypothetical, if Sony were to make a move, they can't go out and buy a Bethesda or an EA or Ubisoft or whatever. They're too expensive and they don't have it, like we said. So, what I would submit hypothetically that would be interesting is for them to buy the Embracer Group, who we've mentioned almost every other week here is buying somebody. Those are the guys who buy a studio every other week, that we talk about. THQ,
Yeah.
that those guys own THQ Nordic and all that. I don't know how much they could get them for in all of their studios and IP. It's like 40 something studios that they own, 43 studios or something that they own, and then all kinds of IP.
10 million a studio.
Yeah, but if they could get them, but if they could get them for a couple of billion and they own all of that, that would be interesting. A lot of that shit is junk. A lot of those games are junk. A lot of the IP is junk. Don't get me wrong, but they have stuff like Metro and Dead Island still and things like that. So
Mhm.
they have some stuff there that if you put Sony behind it, maybe you could get a hit there and kind of a hidden gem. So
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they need to do that, but that would be an interesting thing that would get me excited if they went out and did that. So, but with all that said, I think they just need to hold tight. Take the body shot, deal with it. If it gets to a point like you said where we truly do lose all of these games exclusively to Xbox, we don't get Fallout, we don't get the Elder Scrolls, so on. That's a bit. I mean, Bethesda is a big RPG publisher. That would put a big hole in Sony's game catalog if they lose some of those big, heavy hitting AAA RPGs.
Yeah, but, like, to the point of playing catch up to Sony, where is Bethesda rank among the best? Like, where is that in the world? Like 1 to 10? Is it top 5? Is it top 7?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I don't know
yeah,
if it's top 5.
yeah,
And no offense to them, but, like, I feel like if Sony really wanted to go to Sucker Punch and say, "Hey, can you do something better than Fallout?" They can.
yeah. That
And
you know what? You're right.
like, that's kinda how I feel about it. And I feel like there's other studios that aren't exclusive studios to Sony that could do a game as well as them. I'm just like, when I think of Bethesda games, I don't think of, I know they're AAA games because they spent AAA money, but I don't always feel like I'm getting that quality.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a great point.
Like Elder Scrolls, I think is like Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah,
Based off everything I've seen. The last Fallout wasn't. I'm not talking about 76. The one before that was okay,
yeah,
and 76 I think had mixed reviews, but it's not like it was a terrible game. It was. Would you say that's more of a co-op fun than by being alone fun?
yeah. It's one of those live service games like
Right.
Avengers.
So when was the last great Fallout? Was it New Vegas
Yeah,
3?
New Vegas.
Right. So I think if we were at that point with Fallout, if that was the last game that came out, then you'd be like, yeah, this might be an issue. But they've kind of taken a step back, I feel like, especially with all their glitches and weirdness
Yeah,
that they have. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
that's also a good point. I think that might be why Bethesda just took 7.5 billion from Microsoft because they're a couple of flops away from not looking so great anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Starfield flops is a new
Yeah,
IP
that's
or
true.
whatever, as a new IP or they've got some tentpole franchises that keep them afloat. But they've also had some like you just mentioned them all that are they they're not commercial flops, but they're trending in not a great direction, particularly with the RPG games because their engine is awful.
Right. So it's like, did they just sign, are they just the Vikings who signed Brett Favre? Or or did they just like, revamp Kevin Durant's career in Golden State? Like which one did they get?
Yeah, exactly. Time will tell. So, Travis, let's wrap up here. Talk to me about what you're going to be playing in the week ahead.
Well, I'll probably play a lot of Mafia. So I looked at the trophy list. Like
Mafia.
yeah, like 90% of the trophies are like finish the mission.
Platinum number two coming?
It's doable, but there's some like weird stuff like find foxes and like find Mafia cigarette cards, like stuff like that. It'll probably take forever,
Mm,
but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to play it and see if it's as cool as I remember it. It's only $40. It's not like I was paying 80 for it or something.
sure.
What else? I'm sure we'll avenge.
Oh, yeah.
I want to max out the Hulk. And
You're close.
I'd like to do some F1 this week. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
See if I get there. I mean, depends on how Mafia goes.
Are you commentating on Sunday? F1 League?
Yeah, we're doing that apparently. The group has been very quiet the last 5 days, and usually before that it was like every 2 hours they were saying something. So I don't know what's going on there, but we're supposed to be racing at Sochi this weekend, so we'll see.
Well, I'm going to be playing Red Dead, maybe a little Call of Duty. I'll mix in occasionally. I'm going to continue playing NBA 2K21, my team, see how that goes if I continue my upward progression. Planning on avenging quite a bit with you guys this week. Hopefully, we can get some in this weekend. Sounds like a couple of the guys might be out tonight, so we'll see how that goes. And I guess that's really it. Nothing on the horizon coming out. So we're just kind of in that gap waiting on the PS5 where we can just play whatever we want and whatever we feel like while we hold on tightly here. And with that, Travis, that's all we've got for this week. We thank you guys for tuning in and listening. If you guys enjoyed the show and liked what you heard, please subscribe, share us with a friend, or leave us a review. If you want to engage with us, again, you can reach us on Twitter at the DualSense Pod. If you'd like to watch us stream some games or listen to Travis commentate some F1 racing, you can do that on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/the DualSense Podcast. Again, we post every Sunday new episodes, so don't forget to tune in next week. Travis, thanks for joining me, and we will talk to you guys next time.